Good morning, Nigeria, and happy Sunday. I'm excited, am I not? And of course, if you're channel surfing for a little pick-me-up, oh yeah, stop. You've landed on Breakfast Extra, where your news come with a bit of sass, your statistics come with spice, and every story come with small laughter to help you swallow Nigerian reality. And please, whatever you're eating this morning, whether it's cereal or akamu, you're in the right place. Now they say the early bird catches the worm, but in this Lagos, the worm is on keto. The bird is tired, and the only thing getting caught is your attention. So let's dive right into it. Paystack, the fintech miracle that went from dumb room hustle to dollar sign heaven. One of the co-founders is trending again, and not for anything close to innovation. This post there, my God, the type that makes you pause, blink twice, and sip water like, what did I just read? Honestly, I think talking about him gives the drama more life support, but what are we now but pencils? Essential professionals amiable with microphone. So let's not talk too much. Me, I commence my reserve. You, drop your thoughts, but gently, please. And of course, we talk about language. Some schools are still enforcing this strict English-only policy like it's the new WAEC syllables. Meanwhile, Nigeria has over 250 indigenous languages whispering, hello, we're still your children. Oh. Research even shows kids taught in their mother tongue perform 30% better. But no, some schools insist that English, like the one where they speak so, must be the only thing spoken, like a colonial flashback nobody asked for. It's not giving intelligence, it's giving lost identity. And of course, we talk about food because my stomach is already talking. It's breakfast. Nigeria is in a serious fast food entanglement. Shawarma stands everywhere, 24-hour drive-thrus, burger, hotter than Sunday jollof, like we're in full-blown relationship with junk food. Of course, statistics say Nigerians dropped 375 billion naira on fast food last year. 45% of urban youths eat it weekly. But the fallout is showing up as hypertension, diabetes, and that moment when your genes refuse to, cooperate. And of course, but don't worry, our kitchen warriors are fighting back. Oh, there's sugar-free zobo, whole grain tuwo, smoothies that taste like discipline and good decisions. Your quick snap of the week. You have to ditch sugary cereals. Try soaked oats with baobab powder. Thank me later when your stomach starts behaving like it has home training. But of course, that's not it, guys. My people, as we mix the bitter espresso of our finance, the spicy wahala of our mother tongues, and the greasy truth of fast food, you should remember that breakfast is not just a meal, it's a message. Whether you're stacking payments, protecting your language, or fixing your diet, make sure you're the one holding the toningari of your life. Stay tuned, stay awake, and please, always check the ingredients. Your health, your culture, and your future self will thank you. Guys, welcome to Breakfast Extra, where every bite is a headline and every headline is extra. You got that? Of course, I'm not here alone. I am with the one and only Mazzino. Good morning, Mazzino.
Good morning, Queen. Face plant. Like everything in there had to do with food. And
I love food.
You're a chef, of course. It's all good. But that's very interesting. But what's wrong with fast food now? Why are you yapping me?
I'm not saying it's wrong, but too much of everything is not good. But anyway, let me come over and then we continue this conversation, shall we?
Come on over.
How's that? Good morning, guys.
Well, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. I'm Mazzino Appeal, and today we have a packed lineup covering stories that matter across Nigeria and, of course, beyond as well. Now, we're going to be starting in Lagos, where the government begins. I'm sorry, I had to take a little off there. Serious face now, where the government begins an 8-month rehabilitation of Lekki Aja corridor. Yes, it's going to happen. And we also explore plans to ease commuter stress. For health, we'll look at Nigeria's growing fast food culture and the silent risks it poses to our well-being. Later on, its education sector take a spotlight as the government reverses the mother tongue policy mandating schools to revert fully to English instruction, raising questions about learning outcomes and cultural preservation. On the economy, we unpack the halt of the 15% petrol import duty, a move aimed at easing market pressures. And in entertainment, weekly warrior here, we celebrate Tasha. Yes, the same Tasha, smashing 2 Guinness World Records, so of course it needs our recognition, making historic headlines. Across borders, we cover a chaotic military recruitment in Ghana, which left 6 people dead. And finally, in tech and legal affairs, Paystack co-founder Ezra Olubi faces suspension. In fact, he has been amid serious allegations sparking conversation on corporate accountability and workplace ethics. All that and more right here on Breakfast Extra. Let me say welcome one and all, and wakubiru, that's how we say well done or welcome in my language, Isoko.
And we say Messier in Cross River State.
That's beautiful.
You. Thank you.
So the mother tongue thing, what do you think about that?
What did you say?
Mother tongue being taken out of curriculum.
I don't think it should be taken out. That's part of our identity. It's like trying to tell me forget your foundation and look at your adulthood. I can't do that. I don't.
What language were you taught in school, however?
I know that they taught us Yoruba. There was Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo.
But is
you had
that
to
your
choose.
mother tongue?
No, it wasn't.
That's the point I'm going to be making during the conversation.
Well, let's see.
If you stick around and join us then. So we're going to take a break and then we'll bring you the dailies, perhaps also maybe strips, only if you stick around here. Welcome once again. This is Breakfast Extra. Well, good morning once again and welcome to Breakfast Extra. We begin with a major infrastructural development in Lagos that will impact thousands of daily commuters along the Lekki-Ajah corridor. Yes, I'm talking to you. The Lagos state government has announced an 8-month rehabilitation project which comes with phased traffic diversions and a promise to ease long-standing gridlock on this busy route. According to recent briefings, the repairs will run through 2 major phases, with nighttime construction, partial lane closure, and expanded alternative routes, all targeted at reducing commuter stress during a long rehabilitation period. While commuters anticipate smoother roads in the long run, there are concerns about traffic congestion, public safety, and environmental impact. And to help us unpack these developments, we have SRC Oluwadamilola Jayeola of the FRSC and Ide Ahime, Wade Ahime, Chief Coordinating Officer of Sustainable Africa. Oluwadamilola, thank you so much. Good morning for joining us. And of course,
good morning,
Wade,
thank you for having me.
Good morning. Great to be here, and it's great to be talking to a marshal.
Awesome. That is grand.
Great to talk to you too.
I'm glad we're starting on a very friendly note, all of us, because this is a very, very critical topic here. Madam Oluwadamilola, I'm wondering exactly what are we looking at now? 8 months of rehabilitation. We know what happens when rehabilitation happens. For example, on the 3rd Mainland Bridge only just last year, or was it the year before? It was, some will say, pretty hectic for motorists. Now, the Lekki-Ajah corridor is a very important one. Not only does it lead to the free trade zone, it's become more and more commercialized over the past many weeks. So, what should we expect from road marshals, the FRSC, or even other authorities that will be posted on these routes?
All right, thank you so much, and thank you for having me again. First off, let me say thank you to the Governor of Lagos State, Governor Olusola Babajide Sanwo-Olu. He's a spot on for thinking it right to rehabilitate this Lekki-Ajah expressway corridor, knowing fully well that it's a commercialized corridor, just like you said. But there's something my core commander, that's the sector commander of Lagos State FRSD, would always say: collaboration is key. And he would always say it in Yoruba: Agbajowo Lafin Soya, Ajojowo kon gberu dore. And this means that we all need to collaborate at this time. We all need to come together at this time, interagency wise, community wise. We all need to come together and make sure that this 8 months rehabilitation is done in one piece. This is very, very key for that particular corridor, knowing fully well that we have the free trade zone around that place. And it's a development waiting to happen on that corridor. So first off, I think coming from the FRIC point of view, for me, I'll say we'll deploy more personnel to that corridor to make sure that they man the critical choke points on traffic control. Also, we're going to do more of or increase our community engagement and enlightenment at this point in time. We're going to have to, talk to more people so that they understand why this rehabilitation is very important and why they need to keep themselves safe. If you've gone through the Ember Month thing for FRC, take responsibility for your safety. Stop distracted driving. And I think on this corridor, they need it more. They can't afford to take their eyes off the road at any point in time. Also, we'll talk about strict enforcement of lane indiscipline and diversion. There's going to be diversion on that road. You can't but follow through on the set rules on ground. You can't but follow through. So there's going to be strict enforcement on that. Not minding that as much as we are going to be doing the traffic control, also we're going to look into the enforcement aspect of it. Also, the emergency response team are going to work hand in hand with other agencies to make sure that our response time comes as early as possible, and then we do it the way we are supposed to do it all together with other agencies.
Thank you, ma'am.
There's going to be tow truck availability also to remove broken down vehicles, crash damaged vehicles, or stalled vehicles on that corridor so that people can have free movement on that corridor.
You're talking about the corridor itself or the alternative corridor, which would be the Lagos-Calabar Highway? Is that
Lagos-Calabar Highway?
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, both on the Lekki-Aja corridor that's being rehabilitated, and the other Lekki-Calabar or Lagos-Calabar Way is going to be monitored by FRC and other agencies as well.
Right. Hello, Madam Lola, thank you. Your responses is making me very hopeful for December, because the traffic, the past few days, I'm already seeing it, I'm like this. But how are commuters?
Yes, she is.
How are commuters?
In advance.
Yes, so I'm just hoping, you've given me so much hope this morning, but how will, commuters receive real-time updates about, the progress of the project, if there are closures or, what diversions or anything happening in real time?
Coming from FRC, we do real-time traffic updates on some radio stations, and I would suggest that they listen. And then there are other agencies who do their own too on radios, and then we dish out information on groups. If you belong to those groups, yes, you can get those real-time updates. And then we also have newsmen in those groups. I know I have a representative of News Central in that particular group. So once we dish it out, they help us spread it out accordingly.
Well, thank you very much.
I think that is key as well.
Thank you very much, Damilola. But there are other issues we must discuss, and that's why we have Uwade here in the studio. Yes. And I'd like you to keep an ear out for this. Now, Uwade, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's great to be here, man.
Anything business and the economy, we always look forward to having you on the show here.
It's a pleasure.
Now, Lekki corridor, heavily commercialized when it comes to people who live in Lagos.
And I used to live there at some time.
So you can understand the pressure on people's minds, the pressure on the minds of the authority, the pressure on the Lagos-Calabar Highway, which would be the alternative route. Yeah. But how exactly will this affect businesses, the economy, people's pockets? What are we looking at here, especially as we get into the main month that 2025 was designed for? Dirty December 2025.
Clean December for me.
What are we expecting economically?
So economically, first and foremost, I'd like to commend Madam Oluwadamilola, for giving us, the brief and clearly stating what exactly is going to happen.
Yeah.
But the first thing the other thing I need to say is Lagosian motorists should please adhere to the rules and regulations. The alternative routes, which is going to be the coastal highway, which cuts across from the back into the Lekki corridor. Maybe initially there might be quite some disruptions, but I don't think from an economic perspective it will be that much once there is an alternative. I think the biggest fear initially was, where's the alternative? And if the Lagos Calabar coastal highway is available, it just means that you have somewhere which should be faster, freer, for you to connect into your businesses. But to avoid continued loss in revenue on that corridor, I think the best thing is motorists should please adhere to the rules and regulations. Otherwise, what then happens is there's so much chaos, and traffic is one of the biggest issues when it comes to economic issues. Because once there is traffic, you miss appointments, shops can open on time, shops can close on time, and so on and so forth. But I do think also that it's an opportunity for us to, as a country, to realign how we're going to do December. Yes, I know a lot of people are going to be out on that corridor, but even the motorists themselves and the Nigerians themselves who are looking forward to December, they should remember that if you're stuck in traffic, then there's no economic
I think
activity.
you just set us up right for this conversation here. When you're talking about people looking forward to December, and the Lagos state government actually acknowledged from last year how much Lagos made in December with everything and everyone pouring into Lagos, the commerce that happened, hotels, bookings, leisure, it was really big. And I hope that Madam Damilola is also listening to this now, because I would like her take on this.
Yes, I am.
Oh, grand. It seemed, and the argument is, it seems rather counterproductive that you would set the resumption date for the rehabilitation in December. If you're expecting all that economic influx of money, why then put something that would actually stand as adverse circumstance to that, instance?
Okay, so let's start by saying that we know that November, December are the lowest periods of economic activities, and also along that corridor. Why? Because businesses will close, some shops will close, many offices will start to close from the middle of December. However, for those who are open, what it then means is that they need to be able to advise their clientele on what to do, how to get there fastest. So go through the Lagos Calabar highway and connections and roads and interlinking roads that come into those space. However, I don't think in the long run that the amount of economic activity as it happened in 2024 will happen in 2025.
Oh, sacrilege.
No. And why do I say this? It's because more people on that corridor, I'm not talking about Lagos as a whole, so you now have to start looking for alternatives. So for those who live on the mainland, for instance, you start looking for where you would get, the kind of dirty December, like they put it, that you need to have.
Right.
What it also does is, for economic activities on the mainland, so shotlets, all that, so there'll be a boost in that. Why? And then more
variety,
outfits,
diversity,
would start to look at, so how do I create that same kind of
so this is an opportunity for mainland
it's an opportunity for main businesses. And for those who have branches on the mainland or in VI and Ikoyi, then this is an opportunity for you to boost those branches that people will never really come, maybe by dropping prices, that kind of thing, so that you can improve and boost your sales.
Queen, I hope you don't mind. I really would like Madam Damilola to actually tell us what she thinks about this seeming counterproductive measure that the government is putting in place.
I think it's top-notch coming from the FRC point of view. And also, I'd like to say that from Wadi's point of view, saying that they should adhere to rules and regulation is key. Also, talking about the logistics core, I think they need to re-strategize on how they want to upskill their should I say, upscale their profit or scale their sales, you need to start strategizing from now. Look at what you want to do and how you want to attain them. I think it's just okay. And the coastal road being the alternative, it's not it's not going to be as tight as if we do not have a good alternative road mapped out in the first place. So we're good to go. Let me put it like that.
Awesome. Oluwadam, I think every time you speak, I'm having this hope. But now I want to ask, because your voice is giving me so much confidence that this is it for real. But, this is not the first time road in Lagos is being fixed. But, by the time rain is falling, something is happening. And then you wake up one morning, there's a pothole in Jakonde, there's a pothole in Ikate. What assurances have you heard from Lagos that this time around, this fixing is fixing for real?
Okay, so not to be like how do I put it now? Let me tell you that coming from the state government, thinking it right is the first stage for me. Is the first kudos for me, and then they now doing it right is the second stage of saying kudos. Let's just keep our fingers crossed and be hopeful that they're going to do the best, knowing that they've never given us less than good in the first place. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Keeping our fingers crossed. I'm going to come back to the studio here. Wadi, let's talk about how businesses can absolutely prepare now. Right. We had COVID-19. That seems to have prepared us for plenty of things, especially remote working. But in the Nigerian instance, and if you have any record of this or maybe research, how did that fare for businesses in Nigeria, in Lagos especially, when we had to work from home? Did we experience a reduction in output? Did we experience an increase in output? What happened exactly, and how can we apply that here in this instance?
So at the initial stages of COVID, yes, there was reduction in output. However, as time went on, when the sanity came back, let me put it that way, people could work from home. Even restaurants could deliver. So what it then means for me at this point in time is, if you're not really an essential staff that needs to be in the office, so let me use restaurants and social spaces, then you don't need to be there, because you can actually work from home. Do you understand?
Provide that service.
Provide that service from home. And like Madam Oluwadamilola said, you need to adhere to the rules, because one of the biggest challenges that you find in Lagos, and I use Lagos because that's where we are, is where you just don't obey simple traffic rules. So traffic a journey that should take you 20 minutes will take you 5 hours. Why? Because everybody is in a hurry. And the question is, at the end of the day, where you run into, because you're now stuck in that traffic for 5 hours. So Lagosians, I know you want to enjoy your December, please do that. However, let this work more efficiently by, one, planning, being patient on the road. Are you with me? Letting other motorists go, so that it's not like people say, oh, no, I should be the head. No. Without the tail, then the fish won't move if it's just the head.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Lagosians should do. And I just believe that the economic activities would not necessarily drop beyond what is expected once there is no chaos.
Okay. And now I wish we had an engineer with us on today's show, but we don't. So I'm going to have to shift this a question, or curious question, to Madam Oluwadamilola. It's about the form which the Lekki-Aja corridor takes. These roundabouts, many people have said they're no longer roundabouts. They are actually just junctions. And many people say these are the cause of plenty of traffic. And we're wondering what exactly would be the new format, if there's going to be any change. Do these fixes simply mean just only on the surface of the road, or do they mean the configuration of the road itself? Do you know or have any idea of this information?
I'm not privy to what it's going to be like, but maybe subsequently, when we have the first phase of the meeting with all the stakeholders, I may be able to give you what it's going to look like. But for now, I do not have any information as to that.
Okay. Well, very interesting. Uade, what should we look forward to after these 8 months? Are we going to see an increase in influx of people who want to live in the Lekki Aja corridor?
And me
Are we
getting
going
to work
see-
faster.
Are we going to see? Well, are we going to see businesses charge lesser because they always complain that it's Lekki and they start raising their prices?
I'm not sure about more people living in the Lekki axis because if there is no accommodation, then more people can move there.
Exactly.
But the what we should expect after these 8 months is that your journey to Lekki should be smoother.
Would this affect
Should be
prices in
quicker.
Lekki?
Oh,
Would it
during this
increase
period,
the prices?
during this period, it probably will increase. Are you with me? Because
everybody's
it's about
taking a
demand
risk.
and supply.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do expect that once this is done, because journey time is shorter, things will stabilize, and then prices will come out to what prices should be based on the demands and supplies. You can't change that.
Oh, we hope. So, yeah, you can.
I don't know what to say because
Rest easy.
well, I'm in the middle of it, and you've made it clear again. We should hope that the citizens and those coming to visit us every December would adhere, because everybody's rushing for one concert or prayers 31st night. The experience, Fly Fest is something, especially the VI. So let's hope that citizens would adhere to the rules, so that we can get to work on time.
I do hope so.
I hope so.
And I'm thankful that I'm not on the axis.
Wow.
I am so
Wow.
thankful.
Oluwadamilora, thank you for joining us and giving us
Thankful too.
so much hope. And I'm hoping to see your people on the road and say, oh, thank you guys for helping us clear this traffic. We appreciate you this Sunday morning. Thank you.
Thank you for being with
Please,
us on the
when you
conversation.
see them, let me know.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wade, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you this
And thank you for having me as usual.
Awesome. So guys, you heard it. Let's hope and let's be hopeful that, the road will come out smooth, and then we'll find our way to our businesses and work on time. But now let's go to a short break. When we return, we have more news.
Welcome back again. Only this time it's time for Wellness Central inside of Breakfast Extra, where we focus on the health issues shaping everyday life across Nigeria. Now, this morning, we're looking at a trend many of us are guilty of, including myself. The fast food rush. From Lagos to Abuja, Port Harcourt to Kano, the quick service restaurant culture is booming. Nigerians are eating more fried foods, sugar drinks, oversized portions, and highly processed snacks than ever before. This quiet shift in our diet is fueling a rise in obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and heart disease, especially among young adults.
So what is driving this growing reliance on quick meals, and what can be done to reduce the silent health risk? Joining us are people who's done extensive advocacy on healthy food system. Abayemi Sarumi, who's Associate Director of CAPA. And of course, we have Temitayo Ajibade, who's also a manager at a restaurant. Gentlemen, good morning. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Abayemi, let's start with you. Give us a big picture here. What is this fast food problem in Nigeria? How drastically has our eating culture actually shifted from, the past 10 years up until now? Abayomi.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to join you this morning. The fast food problem is a very big one, like you mentioned in your introduction, and it just goes beyond the few fast food that we categorize as fast food. I think the general problem is ultra processed food. And these are food that have gone through lots of processing, minimally processed, that have caused a change in the food structure, especially in the content of high sugar, high salt, and high fat, which are all unhealthy. But what we have seen in the last 10 years is that our dietary pattern has changed, and it is due to what people have agreed to be urbanization, westernization of our diet, and the false idea of convenience that when you eat this food, you are saving time, you are getting your food on the go, and you are getting filled up. Whereas the truth is, this food do not have any nutritional value. or minimum nutritional value, depending on the level of processing on the spectrum of from unprocessed to ultra processed. And this has contributed a lot in the last 10 years, like you've mentioned, to the issues that we see around non-communicable diseases, specifically around the predisposing factors, the obesity, diabetes. And if you look at the data vis-a-vis consumption of food in the last 10 years and diet-related diseases, you would see clear-cut connections that shows that the more we go into this food, the bigger the problem and prevalence of non-communicable disease becomes in our society. So it is not just that we are eating, we are losing our cultural food, because again, the whole idea of food and food justice is that we eat what is healthy, nutritious, what is accessible, and what supports our sovereignty. It should be what is culturally appropriate. So we now eat food that are no longer culturally appropriate because we've reappropriated what these things should be, what our meals should look like. We change them, we want it to be like a group of people's own. That's why we say westernization of that. But generally, it has coincided with the increase in non-communicable diseases, and this is a big worry. It means that we are not just changing diets, we are also changing the trends of disease that the country is open to.
Me, we know that, recently everything is basically on socials, on the internet. And of course, there's heavy marketing on sugary drinks, combination and, fried foods and all that, very easy and sharp for young people. Would you say that, the pressure in the marketing and advertising is what is influencing this healthy diet? Trisha, are you going to blame it on the influence?
Yes. Yes, we are absolutely going to blame it on the influence of marketing because it is unfair to, put this blame solely on individuals. If you ask me why, I will give you quite a number of examples. When people who make this food, note again that there is something called the information asymmetry. People who produce this food largely are aware that their food have no nutritional value, yet they market them as convenience, as food of champions, as food people must eat so they attain a certain stage. Now, when you bombard the mentality of people with this kind of advertisement, you do not now begin to put blame on them. So it is clear that marketing of ultra processed foods, fast food, have a large impact on how people begin to consume. As early as May this year, my organization, Kappa, launched a report that looked at the way products are marketed offline, just offline alone, looking at signposts, the messaging, the subtle messages, and we used 7 states in the country. And what we saw, this publication is available publicly. It is online. Everybody can find it. It's called Junk on Our Plates. And it's itemized how foods are marketed in Nigeria, even to the point of appropriating cultural importance into how these foods are marketed. You would see a lot of big festivals. You see Judioba, you see a lot of them where products or producers of ultra processed food come into that space and attach it to the cultural event. So it now begins to look like when you take a particular food, it mean they are trying to re-engineer the way food culturally appropriate means. They are now also marketing it in a way to say that if you eat this particular food, it helps you to achieve A, B, C. And this is simply misleading, not even speaking to the health concerns. Like I mentioned, that there's the information asymmetry. People who produce are aware of the dangers or the likely dangers of the product. But this is not included in marketing. What is included is, oh, this is the breakfast that will help you get your day to the point where it needs to get to, or this is what will turn you into a pilot or the best footballer. I mean, it erodes the true messaging of hard work, of consistency, and all of that. Then it also neglects the health implications of this food. And this is why it is very important that policies and government regulations come into place to ensure that these food are not marketed dangerously, not just to young people, because again, there are people who, I mean, there are category of children that cannot make purchases at a particular time. So their parents are also targeted. So this kind of marketing must be reviewed with strong regulations that are mandatory, not voluntary regulations. Mandatory regulations that can ensure that kids are protected, vulnerable groups are protected, and health implications of ultra-processed foods are clearly noted. In the last 10 years alone, we've seen up to 30% change in in our dietary pattern, and this would only continue to get worse if these policies are not put in place at the right time.
Because he is a manager at a restaurant, and I want him to tell us exactly how this applies from his side of things. However, I do not remember the last time an advertisement actually made me go buy a combo meal at a fast food store. I do purchase and I do patronize fast food a lot because it is convenient. And for me, it's the convenience that outweighs the marketing. And I'm wondering, how can we make Nigerian meals, cultural meals like you call them, more accessible? Because it's not easy to package pounded yam and stew, or what soups do we use now? Eforiro. It's the packaging that makes cultural foods inconvenient. Fast foods are faster for packaging, faster for carrying about. So what do we need to do to tip the scales here? We're talking to you, Abayomi.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that you do not remember the last time an advert made you buy food.
Yeah.
But as a journalist, you are aware of the power of subtle messaging. You wanted to buy for convenience, but again, when you got to the point of purchase, you began to look at your choices, and you felt that, okay, let me buy maybe a bucket that's this and that. Your first decision might not be based on the advert, but when you are always
bombarded by,
permit me to use the word attack. Yes, bombarded. That's the best word. Bombarded by this advert. It builds up unconsciously or subconsciously, and you get to that point where your decisions are affected by that.
Then in that case, why don't we focus on trying to make cultural foods, well, look as aesthetically pleasing or as convenient as we have fast food being advertised as well?
They are as pleasing as it should be. When we come to the point where we'll start to package them, we begin to add additives, preservatives, and these are the issues. Your pounded yam, I think it is best served hot with that beautiful vegetable soup. You would see that I'm smiling because the image of pounded yam brings a lot of joy.
Thank you.
So what I am saying is, when we begin to package them, we now begin to process. We now begin to put preservatives, and these are where the issues are. These additives, a couple of them have been identified to be carcinogenic. So the issues with ultra-processed food or fast food, deep fries, and all of that is not usually about that the starting point. It is what comes at the end, because when you eat them, the danger is it builds up in the body. We've mentioned obesity, we've mentioned diabetes, and all of these lead, they are non-communicable, they are predisposing factors, and then non-communicable diseases that take forever to manage. They are not treated, they are managed, they are lifelong diseases. So when we begin to look at these issues, we need to look them totally along the spectrum of economics, socials, and health-wise.
Okay.
But the biggest impact is in the health that then affects our economics, that then affects our social fabrics. Because if you take an example of, let's say, a family of 3 with one down with NCD, the other adult who is supposed to work in that family begins to do unpaid care to take care of that person that is down with NCD. Maybe the third person is a child, the education is affected, a whole lot of interconnections. But what is more important in foods that are culturally appropriate or healthy food is that they have been minimally processed. So you still pound your yam, You still cook your vegetables. You still use seasonings, even seasonings, though they a lot of them are ultra processed, but you still use many of them. So there are limits at that point that you can now go to. In your minimally processed foods, maybe you are using seasonings. Again, our advocacy is that we should recourse to naturally occurring. We have a lot of them. You have your locust beans. You have the spices
Abayomi,
that you
just a
use that
second,
have been
Abayomi.
packaged are also available.
Just a
Yeah.
second about me. I want to introduce Temitayo Ajibade. He is a manager at Fight Restaurants, if I'm not mistaken. I would also like to get his take on the conversation here. Temitayo, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Temitayo, please, first off, if you will, tell us exactly what kind of foods you are attuned to serving at your establishment. Are we talking fast foods here, or are we talking cultural foods like your eforiro, your amala, and all of this? What kind of foods do you serve? Temitayo. Temitayo, I'm hoping you can hear us. I think we have a problem with the connection with Temitayo, unfortunately. Queen, I'll let you go with a question for Abayomi, please.
So Abayomi, as a chef, we know that you have a pastry chef, and then you have the hot kitchen, you have the cold kitchen. And somebody who's eating a burger will tell you, oh, it's just bread, a beef patty, lettuce, tomato, and a mayo. So how are you going to convince a chef who's a pastry chef to be able to explain to their client that eat cake, but don't eat too much cake? Because basically, their chefs are the one who's making all this food. So how is Kappa able to incorporate all this and explain to people that, okay, fast food is not, not good, but then, there are chefs who are also making this food. How are we going to fix that?
Thank you very much. We are trying our best to ensure that the message is not lost on people. We are not attacking businesses. What we are asking for is that people come to a point of understanding, that they begin to see that diet-related diseases are common amongst us. So when people see a diabetic person, or let's just use hypertension, sometimes people cannot link it with how much salt they've eaten. The funniest part is Nigerians are aware that if you eat too much salt, it is dangerous for your health, but they do not know to what extent. So they cannot, you would hardly be able to tell a Nigerian that taking a bottle of soda or SSB a day predisposes you about 25 to 30% chance of having diabetes. Just a bottle gives up to that 30% chance of having diabetes type 2. And that this could lead to about 15 types of cancers. They cannot not make that connection. So what we need to do is to look out for the nutrients of concerns. Nutrients of concerns include sugar, salt, and fat. And this is why we are asking for policies. There's a data, Nigerian data, from a study conducted by the cardiovascular department of University of Abuja, and it listed out sources of high salt in Nigerian food consumption. And that bread that we've mentioned is one of it. Remember that bread is not even salted to taste. You can't feel salt in your bread, but it is highly salted to get to the point where it is. And there are a lot of food like that. So what we need to begin to do is, for us, we believe that food is the art of making food is artistic. You need to be able to find the right combinations. So when our chefs begin to understand that there are health implications to what we are eating. I mean, 30 years ago, this food could, in fact, maybe not 30 years or way before that, people could eat these things without concerns. But there are scientific evidence across different parts of the world showing that the way we eat is impacting our health, our body.
Okay, then Abayomi.
The overall.
All right, then Abayomi. I think we have Temitayo back again. Temitayo Ajibade, are you here? Can we first of all make sure that we have your audio? Temitayo, are you with us?
Yes, good morning.
Grant, Temitayo.
I had a little issue
Fantastic.
with my connection.
Finally, we have you. We're excited that you're here. Temitayo, where do you stand on this fast food versus cultural meals? Where do you stand on it?
Fast food, currently is doing a lot of damage that we Nigerians are not necessarily paying attention to at the moment. But because of the profit and the way we want fast food now, because of the time, many Nigerians are not really paying more attention to their own health. They just want to get food fast. So it has really fomented the Nigerian cultural way of eating good food. So it has affected us in so many ways that our personal hygiene, fast food causes a lot of risk, weight gain, obesity, heart diseases, and all of that thing. But Nigerians particularly do not really pay attention to these things as long as they can get food fast. So if you want to eat good food, it will take longer time. So is that time factor now that's not really in consideration for us? People want to go about their day-to-day life, just want to get something to just eat and just hold themselves up. So that's why it's like that.
Right. So, Temitayo, let's talk about the part of business. And I know how long hours chefs have to stand to prepare a steak or an Alfredo pasta, proper meal. And you know that Nigeria is already challenged with, infrastructure, road, traffic and everything. And they probably have 1 hour for lunch break. I don't think they have the time to wait for, people to pound the yam and make the eforiro fresh for them. So how can you say that the chefs making the actual food, the proper food, how can they compress time and also the prices? Because I know the pounded yam is not cheap. So the Nigerians can also weigh and say, oh, instead of me eating, fast food and freezy drinks, I can quickly get something sharper. How can we do that?
The thing is, I run a restaurant here. So what we do is we run a la carte. So all my meals are freshly made. So early in the morning, I'll send my menu to my customers. So by so time, what will you be eating? So we can make it ahead of time.
Okay.
But if you walk into a restaurant, you just get fast food. But if you want to eat a good food, you still have to. It will take time.
Yeah.
So we've prepped some of the condiments. So in about 15 to 20 minutes, you should be getting your soup ready, your food ready, good food.
Right. Okay.
I'm wondering exactly what people go for, or what you've noted that customers go for. Do they readily just simply go for fast food, or do they go for proper meals, Temitayo?
First off, it depends on the timing. If it's in the morning, people want to take something light. They don't want to waste time. They just want to walk into a restaurant, get something to eat. But in the evenings, some people are very straightforward about what they eat. So they take time to be like, okay, I want to eat this by this time. So can you make it for me? Because they have the luxury of time to sit and wait for their food to get ready. But during the daytime, morning and afternoon, people prefer to go for fast food.
Okay, so now the question now is, if they prefer to go for fast food, how's that affecting business for you, who's used to preparing more cultural meals, proper meals? Does that make the patronage less?
To some extent, yes, because me, I'm more particular about the health of my own customers. So it will affect, because I don't make most of those meals available by that time. So now I work based on order, because it's a la carte meals.
Very
so
interesting.
Now the fast food part, I just make few foods, about 10 to 12. The normal one people eat regularly, the rice, the spaghetti, the burgers, the meat pie, and all of that. So it will affect the business because of the profit, actually. I won't lie, there's more profit when you go into fast food, but it's not healthy for the customers. I tell my customers this from time to time. So it's less for you to decide if you would like to hold on for a bit. Let's just make something nice for you, or just have to pick something up and go. And instead of the soft drink and soda, I just implemented fresh juice, freshly squeezed juice. So instead of that, you can just have that. I'll just tell you, okay, this is what this is. You don't need to take this and all of that.
So what you're saying inadvertently is that you can't have these foods in store. You can't just make them and keep them and say people are going to come and buy. Much like when you have fast foods, you can have it, in reserve, and you're sure that at the end of the day, it's going to be exhausted. But for cultural foods, you can't do this because not that many patronage comes through. Now, let me come back to Abayomi. Abayomi, now we can see the very interesting nature of fast food versus cultural meals. And I'm wondering if you, and most of your messaging has been to the individuals, warning them about the health implications. Now, if this fails, and it seems like it's a very slow process, what other fallbacks do you or your organization have? For instance, is there consideration for maybe attacking this with policies? In other climes, for instance, in the United States, obesity is a problem. What they've done now is they've asked fast food or soda makers to reduce sugars or use alternatives to sugars. What are we looking at here in Nigeria to be able to curb this menace we have with fast foods?
Thank you very much. And I really understand the points made by Mr. Ajibade. I just want to say that, like we've mentioned, that in the last 10 years, we've seen a shift in food in dietary pattern. What we need to work towards is to make that shift back to healthy consumption. And it starts with awareness. And many thanks to you and your platform for giving us this opportunity to have this conversation. People need to begin to look into what they eat. So they need to understand. We have social media channels, we have articles, a lot of things speaking to diet-related diseases and why we need to shift back to foods that are healthy. And on the side of policy, like that you mentioned the US and its obesity problem, Nigeria currently has a tax on SSB, sugar sweetened beverages tax. I'm not saying sugar tax, so people do not misunderstand it to be taxes on sugar. There's no tax on sugar. It is beverages that are sweetened with sugar that is being taxed. And one thing, why we commend the government for putting this tax in place, one thing is that tax is negligible and cannot achieve the desired results that the government wants. So it means that we need to, when we make policies, we must make them in a way that are effective. So an example is that policy should come in place, SSB tax increased and earmarked for health. So when you put taxes in such products, you don't just collect them and keep in government coffers. You put them back in health to provide health care for people who are already down with NCD or other form of health issues. You can put a part of that tax into nutrition awareness, an awareness led by the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. You can put a bit of that in agricultural production to allow people access. I mean, he mentioned freshly squeezed juice. A Nigerian would usually, from evidence, would buy a bottle of SSB, a bottle of soda, instead of a freshly pressed juice because it is more expensive. But when we put taxes on those unhealthy products, we can tilt the balance and now begin to make more healthy products friendlier, cost-effective, pocket-friendlier, and people can begin to buy them. There are a lot of policies that need to come into place, not just one. Advertisement must be reduced, sensitization must be increased, and it has to be government-led sensitization. This is why we are asking for government-led sensitization, because they are in charge of all of this. So it comes from a point of authority. They are aware that these issues are going on. Kudos to the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. We've had a lot of engagements with them, and we know that they are doing as much as possible. But it needs to be scaled. People need to hear this on a daily basis. The way we hear about the advertisement of this product, we hear about the health implications and begin to make those shifts. Other policies that would help Nigerians. And when you pick up a product, the label is not legible. You can't read it enough, let alone take time to find out the level of sugar, the level of salt. So there must be the policy, a mandatory policy on front of pack warning labels that can warn consumers immediately to say this product has excess sugar or excess salt, or it is high in trans fat. And at that point, people can begin to make healthier choices. They can now decide, okay, I have seen that this product is unhealthy for me, but I still want it. That's your brain. Remember that there's a tax on some of it. Government is keeping a part of them to take care of those people already. And again, the impact, policies must also look at the production environment. What are we doing to support restaurants like that of Ajibade? What are we putting in place? Are we giving subsidies?
Abayomi,
Yes.
Apologies, we're running out of allotted time, but Queen has one last question for Temidayo before we leave. Queen, please go ahead.
So Temidayo, my question would just be simple. For an average Nigerian now who's busy and stressed, what would be your advice to them as to why, when they get to the point to choose between fast food and actual food, what should they consider?
When we have is we don't really look into what we eat, according to what Mr. Abayomi said. So what I suggest for my customers is that once a day, make sure you're eating one healthy meal a day. You need to cut all sodas, drink more water, make sure you're eating one healthy meal. I understand that in the morning you might want to just grab something that is okay, maybe fast and just eat. But once in a day, eat a good meal because it will help you a lot and prevent the risk of fast food.
Right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much, because I know this is a conversation that can go on and on and on. And again, I think it's a habit, and let's hope that people get to listen to this and, change their lifestyle and choose to, eat healthy. We appreciate both of you for joining, Abayomi and Temitayo. Thank you so much for joining this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And now let's go on a short break. And when we return, we continue our conversation. This is Breakfast Extra. And today in education, a major policy shift has happened. The federal government has scrapped the mother tongue medium policy in Nigerian schools, declaring English as the sole language of instruction from early childhood through to tertiary level.
Now, the decision follows data that the government says shows students taught primarily in indigenous languages have struggled with national exams. But some argue the reversal backtracks on preserving Nigeria's cultural languages and ignores deeper teacher training and resource gaps. To discuss this further, we have Ronke Adeni, educationist and parenting coach. And in the studio here with us, we have Kudus Onikeku, who leads the J. Randall Center for Yoruba Culture and History. Gentlemen and lady, you are welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Grand. Ronke, we're going to start with you. Can you walk us through the government's reasoning, and can you tell us if this is appropriate or if it has adverse effects?
Okay, thank you. So you have rightly mentioned that they did mention that it was due to the WAEC results, and that was the reason why they decided that the mode of instruction should be in English alone. Now, it's quite ironic that they say that. First of all, the conference where this was announced was a conference that was organized by the British Council. What are we expecting? The British Council organized something, and then they tell you that the mode of instruction should be English. The theme of the conference was inclusion of languages, yet you exclude Nigerian languages and insist on English as the mode of instruction in the classroom. That sounds to me like neo-colonialism, if not colonization in itself. And it's very troubling because there's a disconnect. I believe a lot of people believe that Nigeria is made up of some areas in Lagos and some areas in Abuja, maybe Port Harcourt as well. The reality is that there are places in Nigeria that people do not speak English. In Nigeria, a lot of teachers cannot speak English, cannot write English. So this policy in itself is already excluding a lot of people, and failure rate will even increase as a result. It is also researched and found that a lot of children actually learn better in the early years when they use their mother tongue. However, this is being excluded as well. So I'm wondering what the reasoning, the intellectual reasoning, because I can't just believe that it's just the WAEC results. Because children in countries where English is spoken also fail exams. So we can't just say it's only as a result of WAEC results. How about we try by being bilingual? Because the reality remains that a lot of teachers in Nigeria cannot speak English, and we will continue to exclude a lot of people as a result of this new policy. I'll stop there for now.
Right. Q. I like the name. From the way you're dressed, you represent culture, and I really love it. I was already telling Mazino to get some Ashoke pants. Can you tell us how this reversal is going to affect, our cultural preservation?
I think before we talk about the reversal, it's important to talk about the actual policy itself.
Right.
How were they politically involved in that policy, what budget has been put in place for research, for training, and for developing new curriculum. Because we inherited a curriculum that is completely colonial. And no, to my own knowledge anyway, studying in this country, no serious work has been done in relocalizing our educational structure. Education does not mean English. English was a language of teaching, which in itself is based around a certain kind of epistemology, meaning ways of knowing. We had our ways of knowing before the British arrived. So when you want to create systems of knowledge production, you have to go back to your cultural base. That's where you're going to compose everything from. So our educational structure in this country already from the 60s down to this moment has been on a very wrong path. So I thought that policy was the beginning of redirecting our path and coming back to something that is indigenous knowledge structure that has been before colonial process. How are we returning in a way to our own epistemological approach to knowledge making? Not just for Yoruba people, for Igbo cosmology, Hausa cosmology, Ibira, Nok. It's only in the art and in the cultural space that we still get remnant of this archive. But in terms of knowledge-making process, we've completely dislocalized ourselves to British ways of thinking.
I love the way you just put it. We've neglected the African education, the educational system that was from before, and we've gone all colonial. We've gone all, okay, this is how it works in the world. This is a global village now, after all. I'm going to put that on the side. So it's unfortunate that this is what's happening. This means that we are actually eliminating culture at the end of the day when we take away languages or even language as a mode of learning.
Absolutely.
But the government's argument is that as we are becoming a global village, Nigerian children are unable to pass Western exams. And this is where the world is going. So is there any justification for them to say, okay, fine, we must instruct in English because this is the language that you are taking these exams in?
It's amazing because African countries are the only countries in the world that teach their children in other languages. Japanese don't teach their children in English. French, I studied in France. You have to study French first before you can start anything. Spanish the same, German's the same. I can keep going. It's only colonized people, especially in Africa, that continue to uphold the colonial language as a tool for education. I know it's easy to do that because, of course, how do you do about 300 different cultures claiming to be, the principal? But easy doesn't mean that's the way to go. If our current government are taking the hard direction of using, for example, the removal of first subsidy, these are not easy route to take. The ways that they are relocalizing our economy, these are not. If we have to do this work, we cannot just do it in one department and hoping that the rest will just fall in place. We have to do it across the board.
Okay, let me move back to Ronke. Ronke, can you tell us how this is going to affect the student if truly they go ahead, with this situation? How is it going to affect the student comprehension and their fundamental learning, especially in the early, primary stage?
I think the results are still going to be the same because we're not addressing the main issues. Now, this policy that has been passed, for example, do you believe that in the North, for example, that they are going to take this on? A lot of schools in the North, for example, they will teach in Hausa. They're not going to pay attention to this. So we need to pay attention to the overcrowded classrooms, the teacher quality that we have, the curriculum that we have that is not well utilized or even well understood. Yes, it was revised on the 1st of September with 2 weeks for schools to implement it, which was a mammoth task, impossible task as a matter of fact. So I still believe that the results will be the same because that is not the problem. The mode of instruction is not what is causing the major examination failures. We saw what happened with the last exams that they had, where they were still writing exams at 10 p.m. in the middle of the night. Some were using torchlights and candles to write their exams. Those are the issues that we need to face. Those are the issues because children can learn in the early years, up to the age of 6, they can learn 6 languages without confusing them. They can learn it. That is how their brains are wired. So it is possible to learn in English. It is also possible to learn in your own indigenous language and still be successful. As Mr. Q has said, area countries, China, They're globally a top country, and we don't see them begging to speak English. If you go to China, you have to look for your own translator. You have to look for your translator. But in Nigeria, yes, we have a lot of languages, as has been mentioned. But until our colonial masters come back and tell us that something is right, we don't believe it's right. Say, for example, speaking pidgin English at some point was something that we looked down upon until BBC English came and they endorsed it. So those results, like, they're going to remain the same, in my own humble opinion. Let's look at it next year, and we'll see that it is not this mode of instruction that is causing the examination failure rates.
Ronke, I don't know if you agree with me, but that the authorities perhaps are looking at the symptoms, and the symptoms are very evident when it comes to children failing exams. I'm wondering if there's another layer to this, and let's add two more. Let's talk about the teacher mode of instruction aspect of this, which you have noted that teachers even can't speak English. What about we take a look at it from there and attack it? However, there's still one more. It's the curriculum itself, the transcription of that curriculum. If we're unable to define concepts in local language, then it will be difficult in itself to actually pass across that knowledge of that concept. So perhaps maybe the policy should be more directed at transcribing what we're trying to teach children. I don't know. What do you think?
We can transcribe what we are trying to teach children. We have AI now, so it can make life easier in many ways. So the fact that we actually have artificial intelligence, there's so much that we can do for our children. There's so much we can do with our curriculum. Say, for example, history. In many schools, history is not being taught. It has not been taught. Even I went to school and never learned history. The history I know today is as a result of me becoming a historian as an adult. So imagine telling children in Ibadan or your state and telling them their history in their own mother tongue, how they would assimilate it a lot more. But you know what is happening? We are teaching British history. We are teaching American history. So let us use the tools that are available to us. Let us transcribe. Let us teach in languages that will be easy for our children to understand. And then we'll get better results. That's my contribution.
All right, thank you. Kudus, let me come to you now on this aspect of transcribing concepts. Do you think it's easier to just simply attack it from the aspect of, oh, let's just scrap the whole indigenous language thing? Or it's harder, perhaps, let's transcribe these concepts into local languages? What do you think?
So language is not really the first entry point to learning. There are other forms of epistemological approach, you know, dancing, music, drama, oral tradition, storytelling. There are ways at which indigenous concepts have used other ways to take people from not knowing to knowing. So for me, the real problem comes in what is our goal? What do we want to achieve? Education is a means to an end. What is the end we are looking at? And once we can clarify that, then we begin to understand that we need to work our way backwards. Okay, if I want people to be very skilled, like
globally competitive.
Globally competitive does not really mean much in this world now. Nigerians have been very competitive.
That's the argument of the government.
But we've been very competitive. We've been very competitive in our music, in our film, in our fashion, in IT, and Dela is doing amazing work. Science research as well. There is a very important AI cohort, which I'm also a part of. We are doing things, and to think that competition only happens at a particular central in London is the real problem. The world is very decentralized now. People are putting whatever they have online. If someone like Portable can go global. Like, what do we mean by competitiveness? We think that there is a particular square in London or in New York where it's happening, but it's actually being decentralized in a very, very massive way. So if our students in schools are becoming bored in the ways at which traditional education is organized, it's because there's something more exciting for them online. There are other ways at which they are learning things. I have kids who are 10. I can follow what is exciting to them. So we should pay attention to those things and not think that the way our educational structure has been designed is where it's going to happen from. No, our concept in traditional languages, our proverbs, our divination systems,
storification.
We have a lot there already. And that is why for a Yoruba person, for example, it is easier to explain concept to them in their mother tongue because they are already used to listening to those things without even thinking about them as concept. If I tell you things like performance in English, and I say performance in Yoruba means Iran, It's easier for him to understand Iran because he can understand that Iran comes from Iranti. Iranti means to remember. And once you gather all of those things together, it becomes very easy to explain. But if you have to explain some concept that's written in Latin or in English to now find a way to translate, we shouldn't be doing translation. We should just be teaching the original, the already embedded philosophy in our languages and how to use that to teach them
Undiluted.
concepts. Undiluted.
And without fear of it getting lost in translation.
Exactly, and that's the only way at which when they even go into the world, they have something original to share with the world.
Exactly. Oh, that's beautiful. That's such a beautiful concept. It gets me excited. I'm sorry, Queen. That was just so nice.
So, Ronke, both you and Q, you guys have made emphasis and you guys are so on point as to your views and why it's important for, it's actually true because the things we learned as babies, what your mother told you, is what we still carry on because as adults, you just go about doing every other thing. But those things that were taught, in your mother language still stays. Now, Ronke, my question now would be, are there communities that, committees that are forming right now to be able to counter this to say, we need our mother tongue. We need this for our children to know where they are from. Because yes, Nigerians are spread across the world. Our products, our talent are all over the world. Is this the time for us to lose whatever identity we have? So are there committees trying to put together themselves to say, see, this has to stay?
That's a good one.
Well, the people that I know that are trying to keep and preserve our culture, our heritage, our roots, are doing this independently. I don't believe that there might be, but I don't know that there's a body that is fighting for us to maintain our culture, for us to maintain our language, for us to maintain who we are. The society in itself, we are born into a programming. We are born into a programming where we think like people that are colonized. The way we want to speak, we go on holidays for 2 weeks and then we are coming with an accent. The way we look, a typical woman is wearing a wig on her hair, we are bleaching our skin. Already, the society is already programmed for you to act like you need some kind of proximity to whiteness. So we need to get together, those little bodies. I have a body, for example, called the Rooted Movement, where we have conferences, we go to schools, we tell children to take pride in who they are as Africans. And I know people that are doing things in different pockets. And what we are trying to do is to collaborate, to work together so that we can have a bit more impact in what it is that we're doing. As I'm speaking now, I'm in Delta State. I live in Lagos State. I'm in Delta State and I've come with this message just so that the teachers will take it back to their schools. We have songs, we have so many things that we are doing so that people will continue to take pride. And the schools themselves, they need to understand that even if you want to adopt this British, because the schools, more than anybody, the schools can do a more impactful job. If the schools understand that you don't have to kill yourself to have a British curriculum, American curriculum, Africans in ourselves, we're so intelligent, we should be able to have our own curriculum as Africans. But no, we don't know how powerful and beautiful our curriculum is. As a matter of fact, I will talk about that history again. That history erosion in our classroom is not letting us take pride in the things that we have. Think about the music, think about the Burna Boys, the Whiskies and stuff. They use languages in what it is that they are doing. So let us start with maybe the schools. If you can get the schools to understand that and insist that they teach history, insist that they use a significant element of our curriculum, then we'll be able to have a more significant impact. And we can see now that a lot of British schools are coming into Nigeria as well. They're still not teaching history. This is neo-colonialization happening all over again, and we're just watching. So maybe more than any particular institution, it should be the schools.
Wow, Ronke, thank you so much. But before you go, Q, you're still here. Before you go, can you tell us something interesting, either a proverb or something you like to say in your dialect? And for us that may not understand, you can translate.
Well, I'm not Yoruba. Well, my name is Ronke, but there's something that I love very much. I love the song. It says, Batamiadu koka, Batamiadu koka, Timbaka weni, Batamiadu koka. And this is a song that we teach our children in school. Right. I was taught this song. Our Yoruba teacher in our school, they teach the children things like that. Right. Let us go back to our roots. Let us go back to proverbs. Let us go back to those songs that we used to sing, the games that we used to play. Let us take pride We are very, very rich culturally, and losing it is a complete loss to everything that we are. Let us just take pride in being Black people, because we can never be anybody else. Right. Anything else, we are counterfeits. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh. Gorgeous, gorgeous.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for that acoustic a cappella session.
Yeah.
It will be the first. It's recorded as one of our first.
And
here
she
on
mentioned games before. I remember Tinko Tinko and Ten.
Then there's all of that.
Yay.
And Kudus, please give us something interesting. You are a custodian of culture, so you must have something really deep. I'm sure if you're thinking about it.
I feel like proverbs. I feel like it has a lot of proverbs.
Yes, just one, please. Anything. And I hate to put you on the spot.
Well, which one should I say? I should say a proverb. There's one that I like lately. Agbele kofa ki nshegbe arena kofa. Meaning someone who arena kofa ki nshegbe agbele kofa. Someone who learns wisdom on the road, who learns wisdom traveling, is not the same as somebody who sat at home learning.
That's what I need to call you, because you're constantly
There's a reason why I should say this, because I'm a traveler. I love to be on the road.
That's it.
So it's a very interesting concept, and it gives me a whole new definition to Mazino appeal. Yeah, and the producers are getting jealous that the focus is on me, asking us to end the session now. But Kudus, thank you.
Thank you
Ronke,
so
very much.
Thank you,
Fantastic
guys.
conversation. Absolutely enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing where this policy will go, if we'll absolutely adopt it, or maybe we'll change
at least improve it.
Let's look for improvement instead of absolute change.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Now, thank you, everybody. Do stay tuned. We're not yet done. It's only about midway through inside of Breakfast Extra for a Sunday edition. We've got more coming your way only if you stay with us. Now, for our next big story here on Breakfast Extra, we turn to Nigeria's energy economy and a major decision affecting petrol pricing, foreign exchange strain, and national inflation. The federal government has suspended the proposed 15% import duty on petrol, diesel, and other refined products. The duty was initially planned for revenue expansion, but marketers warned it would immediately worsen fuel scarcity, spike pump prices, and cripple small businesses already struggling with high operating costs, by the way. Now, according to industry experts reports, the government says the suspension is temporary, aimed at stabilizing the market, reducing pressure on importers, and preventing a further rise in transport fares and food inflation. But the big question is now, what does this mean for forex demand? What does this mean for fuel availability? What does it mean for Nigeria's long-term energy strategy? So, joining us to break this down are two voices who understand the sector inside and out: investment banking executive Nnameka Obiareri and oil and gas technologist Bolarinwa Durojai. Gentlemen, you are welcome, one online and one with us here in the studio. Mr. Nnameka, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's start with Mr. Nnameka, who's in the studio here with us. Mr. Nnameka, I know that you're going to go explosive on this, and I'm hoping that I can hold you back, but do tell us, what are we looking at here? First off, this policy has been pushed back, so it is imminent. It is going to happen. The government says it's trying to, well, amongst other things, also boost local production of petroleum, give local refineries a chance to be able to get set up, which is questionable, and also start to produce. The Dangote refinery only serves for 40% of Nigeria's needs. The other 60 were depending on imports. So it's an entire kaleidoscope of factors.
From my own perspective, I think the introduction of the 15% in the first instance was ill-advised. Ill-advised because we know currently that the supply capacity of Dangote refinery will not meet up to 100% of domestic demand. And again, for a country like Nigeria, we understand clearly that the best way to drive competition, the best way to get the best for consumers, is to allow free entry, free exit of players across the whole 4 sub-units in the downstream oil and gas sector. I'll give you an example, Brazil. You know, I always look at comparing Apple with Apple. Crude oil reserve of 15.5 billion barrels, which is 40% of Nigerian crude reserve of 37.5 billion barrels. Proven, we can actually do up to 60 billion barrels in Nigeria if we go into deeper explorations. Brazil Petrol, equivalent of NNPC, was established years after the NNPC, which was under the Nigerian National Oil Corporation. what has Petrobras been able to do that the NNPC is not doing, and why the Brazilian downstream oil and gas is more efficient than Nigeria? They produce 3.9 million barrels of crude every day from just a reserve of 15.5 billion barrels. The Petrobras manages about 11 refineries that are working efficiently and 8 other refineries that are owned by private investors. Brazil refines 2.5 million barrels of crude in these 19 refineries every day, which is far more than what they consume domestically. But if you go through the books, last year alone, Brazil imported over $23 billion worth of white petroleum products and the crude. And why did they do that? They allow openness of the market so that domestic players do not play games with the system. And I will explain to you, there is no way somebody in Rotterdam or a refinery in South Korea does not have crude. Mm-hmm. Netherlands does not have crude. There's no way somebody in Rotterdam can refine purchased crude from the international market, ship it into Nigeria, and it will sell cheaper than the one that is produced by either a Dangote or a Bua, if the market is very competitive, because we are sitting on top of crude deposits in Nigeria, and we can actually get crude. Because the man that is refining in Rotterdam will first of all have to take crude from the refine and then ship it. So basically, suspending it is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And for us to actually get it right, which we will discuss later, we need to do what Petrobras did.
We're going to come to that.
Exactly.
Obiari.
Yeah.
Now, let's put a pin in that. But well, let's come to you now. I just asked Mr. Obiari what he thinks we are in now, what kind of a situation we find ourselves. I'm wondering where your stance is on this 15% import duty that has been imminently shifted to later next year.
Well, thanks. I'd like to dial it back just a little bit to get a sense of, what are we trying to achieve? What was the intention of government in this 15% tariff in the first place? We're all familiar with industrial policy and what it typically aims to achieve in terms of, in this case, the government has said it's a revenue drive, but we also know it's a two-pronged thing. The idea is to disincentivize imports and then incentivize local production. We also know that industrial policy, where it has been really successful, like the gentleman has said, cannot just be taken on its own. You need to have a very strong hand on the local producers so that they don't get lazy and they don't start to manipulate the market and all of those fears of monopoly and all of that. So, that's kind of where this whole thing, that's the general backdrop against this whole thing. And to that extent, I personally do not think it's a bad idea. I think that it's in alignment with a general, industrial policy drive. I'm trying not to use the word import substitution because I don't really believe in that. I don't think they're the same thing. I don't think it's a bad idea. In terms of local producing capacity able to meet domestic demand. Again, there's a lot of controversy about this. I heard you say 40% of local demand. The jury's out on that, because if you look at the actual output capacity of the Dangote refinery now, some will claim and tell you that this number actually meets local demand. And I'm sure Dangote himself will tell you that. So there's a lot of controversy around this. But generally, we seem to see a picture where the capacity of that refinery to meet local demand, from what I see from the research I've done, is more than 60%, which then kind of changes the framing of this whole conversation that, okay, our fear here in terms of, and I'm trying not to get ahead of the conversation here, our fear is the knock-on effect at pump prices, but we need to dimension that fear. How much is actually being imported right now? How much do we even really need to import in terms of the gap, if there is a gap in supply to domestic consumption, and dimensioning that fear or that concern will help the conversation massively. But I'll let us continue.
All right, well, in a moment, I'm going to put this in a very people perspective, in a very ordinary Nigerian perspective. But first, I hear what you're saying here about how positive this might be for the Nigerian economy. Mr. Obiari here thinks it's ill-advised. I'm wondering, as an expert, Mr. Obiari, what questions do you have for Bolariwa?
Okay, not question actually, but we are not actually divergent in our opinion. I will explain to you why we have to be very careful here in Nigeria. I've asked this question, and it's a question we need to ask again and provide answers. If you go through the records at the CBN, you will see October 2010. Throughout from October 2nd to October 31st, go and check that record. We were doing crude and condensate production of 2.8 million barrels a day. There was a time we were doing 2.4, 2.5, 2.6 million barrels of crude and condensate.
So what changed?
A day. So what changed? Did the oil wells dry? We all knew what happened. You remember 2021, the then GMD of NNPC, Mele Kyari, live on TV, told us that Nigeria, on average, lost over $1.9 billion worth of crude oil to TIFRA inefficiency every month. That's a whooping $22 billion lost every year, and it has not stopped. Why are we doing 1.65 million barrels? Why Brazil is doing 3.9 million barrels? It's a question we should answer. We talk about the impact of this on forex revenue. If Nigeria is doing 2.8 million barrels, if Brazil can do 3.9, Nigeria can do 4 million barrels based on our reserves and our fields. Why are we not doing that? Next question again. Why are we still allowing NNPC to be under the control of the federal government of Nigeria?
Mr. Obiari, now I understand these little details that you're giving us here, but to the average Nigerian, the everyday Nigerian on the street, these complexities do not matter to them. The complexity that matters to them is whatever simplicity
what do we do
in their pockets
to reduce the price?
How it affects the transport fare, how it affects the cost of food in the market, and this will exponentially go up if a 15% tax is put on it.
Exactly, and I'm even coming why we don't even need this. Because we need to tackle the foundation. Because what we are trying to do is we are trying to put opiate and elixirs instead of providing lasting solution to the problem. The question is, if Nigeria today is doing 2.5 million barrels of crude and condensate, which we can do, which we have done before, our OPEC quota is 1.65, 1.7. We can actually designate the excess crude production to a Dangote, working with a DAP. I've said this thing all over the world. Go and check. In Saudi Arabia, a liter of PMS is selling for 60 cents, which is lower than what we are saying. It's about 833 naira if you use the official exchange rate. Yet minimum wage in Saudi Arabia is over 4 million naira converted. In Brazil, a liter of PMS is 1,450 naira equivalent if you convert the Riyadh. But minimum wage in Brazil is 470,000 naira converted. So what do we do? Because the whole argument is, what do we do to reduce cost of refined petroleum products in Nigeria? Nigeria is the only place where we are producing. You know that was the time we used to produce a barrel of crude in Nigeria for $16, $17. Why are we producing at $31, $40? Whereas in other areas around the world, from Iraq to Iran to Libya to Russia to Saudi Arabia, they are doing. So the question is, those in authority, those who are managing our oil and gas, need to sit down and look at the whole bucket. If we decide, you cannot invent the wheel. I always say this thing.
Yes.
What Petrobras did was very simple. The Brazilian government divested 72% of their shareholdings to local investors and foreign investors, and had only 28%, shielding Petrobras from the manipulations of the public sector, making them very, very competitive. That was why they were able to attract funding, had investors flowing into Brazil, and they were able to ramp up this. Nigeria can actually go back to do what we're supposed to do. We can actually have a special arrangement where we will do crude, where we will supply crude to the local refineries at a given price that is below the market price, international price, to enable them produce under a special arrangement with IPMAN, with DAPMAN, and with other downstream operators involved in the whole scheme. So that within that bucket, whatever is refined within that local is sold within the local market. And at that level, I've given details before in this studio, we can be able to sell petroleum products, what petroleum products, either aviation fuel, deep kerosene, or diesel or gasoline at a price of not more than 6.50 per liter anywhere in Nigeria. Okay. But rather than do the right thing, they are choosing the easy way out, putting more burdens on Nigerians, which is not acceptable.
Thank you very much for that very descriptive analysis there. But let me come back to you with something that Mr. Obiari has said. Make local refineries competitive. If you can provide for them crude oil at reduced prices, then they will be able to produce, without making that burden of the extra cost fall on the consumer. However, let's go back a page. Where are these refineries? If this 15% levy has been pushed for a couple of months, will these 6 months or few that they have given be enough to set up these refineries, these local refineries, since one of the arguments is that it is supposed to help us boost local refining of crude products?
That's a tough question, and you probably know the answer as well as I do. There's no magic that's going to happen in 6 months in terms of boosting the capacity of these local refineries. And then again, the elephant in the room is we're not really referring to the Dangote refinery here. We're referring to our own homegrown local refineries, and we all know the recurrent story about that. So no magic is going to happen in 6 months, and I don't think we need to mince words about that. However, I want to seize the opportunity to perhaps reframe the conversation about feedstock. And it may not be a popular view, but I don't think there's anything wrong with importing crude. It's a shame, that we are not, unlike the gentleman Nameka has said, our ability to exploit our own reserves and our own crude oil production capacity should be addressed. It's a serious thing. It's essentially leaving money on the table. However, from a broader perspective, we need to, and I'm careful here, like I said, we need to get it right. We need to get as much crude produced as we can produce. Absolutely. And we're not even hitting our capacity at all. However, from a posture perspective, we need to get out of that mental model where we are fixed to the commodity itself. You do not need to produce crude yourself to prosper and to be energy sufficient as an economy. You don't. Simple example, and it's not a perfect example, but I mean, this whole Swiss chocolate industry and all of that, how much cocoa do they produce? And it's an opportunity, for us to kind of jolt ourselves and remind ourselves, especially as commodity producers, that the commodity is not where it's at. As a matter of fact, it has been established that refiners have slightly better margins when the cost of the commodity goes down. What I'm saying here is, if there is a crude oil price crash now, what would normally be a disaster for us in terms of foreign exchange supplies and all of that can be a plus if we double down on the refinery itself. All right. So I'm taking the conversation in another direction, but I think it's necessary just to get our mental models right. Yes, maximize crude oil production, but that's not too much where the conversation is. The conversation is maximize refining capacity wherever you get your feedstock from and export refined products instead of crude oil.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Abiari, let's talk about the downstream oil and gas now. Yeah. We are still dependent on foreign exports of crude, refined crude, whether we like it or not. We still import about 60% of our use here in Nigeria. Now, this tariff being pushed back, whether it being implemented or pushed back, whatever the case, it's still going to happen. How does this affect that sector? Doesn't it seem like as if we're taking food away from a very large community of established businesses?
Yes, we are. And, if you come to the downstream oil and gas sector, it's actually segmented. We have the refinery, which is the big player in the market. We have storage facilities, providers. We have haulage providers and truckers. And then we have the retail stations, which is the outlet, where
it's a lot of communities.
Yes, so all over the world, most refineries do not just sell straight to the market, they have bucket of traders who buys from them, sometimes make upfront payment or put in place letters of credit or bank guarantees. And so these refineries sell upfront even before production because they are guaranteed off-takers for those refineries. Those off-takers now will go down to begin now to look for people that have depot to sell to. Remember that even before now, under the old arrangement, those who built the four old refineries from Gowon to Obasanjo to Babangida also made provisions for storage facilities, not just those by the coastal waters, but within inland. NNPC has huge storage facilities across Nigeria. And they also have huge pipeline, laid across Nigeria that have all been, they are no longer in good conditions because they understood the place of storage. And in Nigeria, they will have over 122 storage centers. Aggregate value is over $38 billion, employing not less than 100,000 people. Basically, what we should do as a country is like I always say, we cannot invent the wheel. We need to create the same arrangement everywhere in the whole world, where all these players within the system play, interlinked in such a way that we don't create problems for the economy. The US today does almost about 20 million barrels of crude production every day, despite the fact that the cost of production is high because of the fact that they are fracking. Yet in the US, they have over 50 storage centers, strategic storage centers that is even houses over 50 to 70 million barrels of products. To show you, they understand the place of storage and strategic reserves, even within their economy. So basically, like I've always said it, we have 3 refineries owned by the federal government. It's not working. And we have been on this for the past 10 years. Last 5 years, we wasted $3 billion.
So 6 months enough.
And it's not working.
It's 6 months enough.
It's not enough. Bua is coming on stream. Okay. Bua has 200.
How much production would Bua add to what
200,000 barrel nameplate capacity. Of course, we have local refinery. We have
and how does it affect?
We have.
So I think
for me, what I think we should do, like I said it, we need to sit back, because energy policy is not just about government raising money. We can actually raise monies doing the right thing. He says something very, very instructive. If Brazil is doing 2.4 million barrels of crude refinery within their system, we can actually support Dangote wholly. Like I've also, we need to support even local production. We need to also support the local modular refineries. We need to support Bua. We need to even encourage more people to come on stream. You understand? We need to, that refinery that is wasting, Port Harcourt and Warri, I've said it, I've made this suggestion. Datman and Moman and Ipman, which are key players in the downstream, can go into a special arrangement with the federal government. If, as long as that refinery is under NNPC, it will never work. And people make this argument, oh, they are old. If you go to Texas, there are 102-year-old refineries that are still working all over the world. In fact, there are over 28 refineries in the whole world that are older than the refineries in Nigeria. But for it to work, we need to privatize it, value it, put it in a bucket, sell down 80%, 30% to Datman members. They form up their own SPV. 50% to Nigerians. NNPC can hold 20%. List it on the floor of the Stock Exchange. There's a 444,000 barrels that are meant for those things. You can hand it over or even give them marginal fuels where they can drill their own crude, because we find it's very, very important. Okay. And now, between Port Harcourt and Warri, they already have existing infrastructure. If you are to collocate a 160,000 barrel crude refinery into that place, it will cost about 8-10 billion. But because there is an existing facility, it won't take more than 5 billion. We can go into a wholesome arrangement and say, okay, take over this, give us a timeline to revamp it, collocate new refineries. Bua is going. Dangote is even talking about ramping up. Yes, go ahead and ramp up. Then we need to put in policies that will enable us reduce cost of production in Nigeria of crude. Is very expensive because of inefficiencies, of dilapidated infrastructure, of crude stealing. Okay. It does not make sense to be using barge to be moving crude because the pipelines are being vandalized.
So Mr. Abiari, most of your suggestions are always on a long-term basis solution. Now, my final question for you would be what the temporary solutions could be, especially as we're staring at this implementation of this 15% tariff. I'll let you answer that after Mr. Bolariwa here answers this question. Mr. Bolariwa, every Nigerian lives with trauma. Traumas of, oh, when is the next fuel scarcity going to be? We've had very adequate fuel supply for the past couple of months, but everybody still has that, like, we're trigger happy. By the time you say fuel, everybody thinks scarcity. No, I meant fuel importation. But scarcity is the next word that comes after fuel for most Nigerians. So will the implementation of this 15% duty for imported products actually help solve absolutely that issue of fuel scarcity, or the fear of fuel scarcity ever happening in Nigeria?
I don't think it's a tough question.
Yeah, I'm saving all the tough questions for you.
Yeah. Fuel scarcity comes when there is an interruption in supply of fuel. This tariff is not going to affect supplies. It's going to affect the price at the pump. Yeah, it's the flows will keep coming. Yeah, those who are importing will import. The question is at what cost. So I'm thinking that the conversation should be more about the impact, inflationary pressures and kind of first and second order effects. In terms of the supply of the product, I don't see an issue, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say you skirted around that one, but I'll just let it lie.
I will answer that question.
You want to?
Yes, I will answer that question. It will affect supply. Let me explain to you why. Last 2 weeks, the landing cost of a liter of the PMS from every part of the world to Nigeria was 823 naira per liter.
Okay.
As at that time, Dangote was selling at gantry at 877 naira per liter. Now, basically, why did they import? They imported because the landing price was lower than what Dangote was selling at gantry. And of course, by the time they bring it in, pay all the what they're supposed to do, pay all the regulatory agencies, they may actually sell below what Dangote is saying. But if you put 15% on it,
it goes up.
The landing price becomes 947.
There you go.
There's no importer that will take the risk of landing a product at 945 when the local refinery is producing at 877. So, and if they refuse to import because they are not seeing any margin anywhere, and the local refinery is not meeting up 100% of the demand in Nigeria, there will be scarcity.
There you go. I'll take your words for it, gentlemen. Mr. Abiari and, of course, Balanra, for joining us. We say thank you very much. There's still so much to discuss when it comes to this issue. We'll wait to see if the implementation will actually solve the problems that we have, or even the greater complexities that surrounds Nigeria's oil refining problems or issues. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us today on Breakfast Extra. We'll continue to monitor the story. And, of course, if we have to, maybe bring you back in to have more conversation. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Now, let's take a break. We've got more inside of our final hour for Breakfast Extra. We'll be back. Welcome back, and this time it's for Focus Africa today. Now we turn to a tragic story out of Ghana. A stampede during a military recruitment exercise has left at least 6 people dead and many injured. Now, the Ghana Armed Forces has confirmed the deaths occurred at the El Wak Sports Stadium in Accra, with chaos erupting early in the morning as thousands surged for the recruitment gates. In the wake of the tragedy, GAF suspended the exercise and launched an investigation into what went wrong.
And joining us to unpack this is Prince Dawa, I hope I got that correct, a peace and conflict researcher. Good morning, Prince, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. And the name is Sia.
Awesome.
It means tree.
Okay, so I say Prince Tree then. So Prince, let's talk about this. This was a tragic, incident, very terrible. Can you tell me how you interpret this? But let's talk about it in the context of, youth unemployment in Ghana. Is this simply a tragic accident, or is a symptom of, deeper economic frustration and, more than meet the eye?
Thank you very much for having me. Let me begin just for extending my condolence to the families of the victims of this deeply distressing event. What this whole thing is a profound moment of sorrow exposes the infrastructure and labor aspects in Ghana. There is about 39% unemployment among the youth. So it wasn't surprising that some 60,000 people registered for the enlistment. So yes, it's tragic. It was indeed a tragic event, but it also speaks to a wider issue of unemployment, systemic structure, and not just Ghana, but also the rest of the continent.
Well, okay. Prince, your audio was a bit bad, but
Prince, do stay on. What we're going to try and do is rectify this issue because we have to have this conversation. Let's take a quick break while we rectify this issue. Perhaps maybe it's something to do with our connection or yours. Let's go on a quick break and see if we can correct that, please. Do bear with us.
You see what I dare people see?
Remove this is off.
But that's what I was using to read.
That's what she was using to read. This is what you wanted to look at.
No, I wasn't. No.
She couldn't have because she was reading.
I was reading now. Yeah, you were reading, but except is the see, this is where I was. Yeah. I was reading now. See.
Yeah, the thing is not facing you.
Yeah, that's what it is. But listen. Yeah. The guy, you should reconnect. Or we can do without his video. I think if we can so let's just start with him and then we cut out the video. All right, please say something again, Prince.
Hello, I'm still with you.
Fantastic, it's better now. This is fantastic. Sorry about that.
So, Prince, I'm going to just rephrase the question, just make it short, so you can just repeat yourself, because, you know...
We didn't hear much. We didn't hear anything, actually.
Okay. I began by...
No, wait, we haven't come back on. We will come on the air.
We'll be back in a minute.
She'll launch you once we come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's okay if the video goes up, that's fine.
No problem.
Can you, my friend, this thing? Because if they've been...
Yeah, that camera is confusing them and it's also confusing you. Keep going. Ooh. Aha, see, it's not even... It's not even on you, sir. You see? I like that you took things into your own hand.
I've said it myself.
You have said it as...
Welcome back, and we're talking about Ghana and the military, the Air Force recruitment, and then there was a stampede that resulted in a tragic death. And of course, we're joined by Prince. Prince, if you can hear me, thank you again and good morning for joining us. And I was asking you that if you can interpret this tragic incident that happened, but in the context of unemployment in Ghana, would you say that it was just an accident or it's something that is more than met the eye?
It was a product of both. It was a tragic incident that could have been avoided. It was avoidable. But Ghana has over 39% of youth unemployment. So it was surprising that such a mammoth number turned out for the enlistment even in Accra. Remember, there is a figure of 60,000 people on the country. And in the case of we had about 21,000 people. So that's quite huge. And it speaks to how frustrated the system is. So for me, it's
Prince, my apologies once again. Can you turn off your video? Maybe we'll have better connection with just your audio. If you do not mind, you can go ahead and turn off the video and we'll manage without it. so we can get clearer communication when it comes to audio. Have you done that now? Thank you very much. Now let's try again. Please go ahead.
Yes, I've done that.
Much better, thank you.
While it's a profound sorrow, it also exposes the deeper structural and systemic stress within Ghana's labor market. With youth unemployment hovering around 39, it is unsurprising that such an overwhelming number of people converge at the military enlistment exercise. Reports indicated that more than 60,000 applicants across the country had purchased recruitment forms, an extraordinary figure that underscores not only the desperation among unemployed youth, but also it speaks to a wider economic marginalization among the youth across the continent. Yeah, so I would say it's both.
Okay, Prince. You said, report says over 60,000 people. And I want to believe that the Air Force would have also put out there, or they should have a certain amount of people that we're expecting. Now, if they got 60,000 people to register to want to join the Air Force, don't you think that there was an issue in planning? Because if they had adequate planning for the 60,000 people, then this shouldn't have happened. So would you say this happened because of inadequate planning?
Negligence.
That's correct. With respect to the military, describing the tragedy as an unexpected surge is both misleading and dismissive, particularly when, as you say, they sold the forms. People bought them. In fact, I'm told that they actually sent text messages to invite them. So to say that the surge was unexpected was quite problematic. Public accounts also indicate that many arrived as early as 2 to 4 a.m., only for the gates to be opened much later. This delay created mounting pressure on those buyers, which are classic conditions for crash dynamics. These are not spontaneous occurrences, but textbook indicators of organizational failure rather than individual discipline, as has been suggested. So in direct response to your question, the evidence points clearly to systemic planning deficiency and recruitment model fundamentally out of step with the realities of demand. The armed forces approach really failed to anticipate the predictable consequence of large-scale unemployment and mass enthusiasm for scarce opportunities. What occurred at LWAC was therefore an unexpected surge, which has been described as unexpected, was and not foreseeable, was wrong. It is not true. It's just they failed the people. That's how I could put it. So describing it as unexpected is very problematic. It was poorly coordinated, and we failed the people. That's all.
Okay, Prince. Mazino, do you want to say something?
No, go ahead, please.
I think my other question now would be, we're talking about unemployment in Ghana, and you mentioned, them, selling the forms and sending text messages. If they had over 60,000 or let's say 50,000 job vacancies, I don't think there were going to be a surge. My question now would be, how do you think they can manage or curb this? Because this is also going to affect some people who may not make it, because I don't know if they have 60,000 available slots in the armed forces for everybody who made it there. I'm sure that some people will pass the exams or fail the exams or whatever training. How do you think this will affect the youth in Ghana as to, I tried this time, I was stampeded upon, I went from morning till night and still I didn't get the job. What do you think the trust now will be in Ghana when this happened?
Well, first of all, it's a very good question you asked about whether or not they had 60,000 vacancies available. I don't know whether it's also a venture to make money for the military. I do not know. But the youth, I should think that in the short to medium term, the incident is very likely to erode trust between young people and the Ghana forces. That's certain. There is simply no justification for a job-seeking exercise to result in loss of lives. The only fault of the victims apparently was to go out look for work. We live in a place where the youth are often mobilized for all the bad things, violence, and so on. And in some section of the media, the youth are also branded as lazy. So here in this case, we have active youth going all out to look for a job, only to meet their death. Right? It's very, very, very pathetic. So I think such an outcome will inevitably breed some disillusionment, particularly among the generation already burdened by unemployment and economic frustration. Again, the growing public demand for accountability and institutional responsibility further would compound the reputational strain on the Ghana armed forces. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, but I'm wondering,
in the long term, this trust can be gradually rebuilt, given the continued relevance of the military as an employer and the persistent need for job among the youth.
it's good to see that you have plenty of hope when it comes to the Ghana Air Force and the military generally. I can hear that in your voice. However, how many jobs were out? How many opportunities were open for this instance? Do you know how many?
I do not know, but as I said earlier, they had sold 60,000 forms and in El Wak Stadium.
Because I asked
a stadium with a capacity of 10,000, they were expecting 21,000 people to be there. So as to whether they have these jobs, I do not know.
So you can see, even Queen here in the studio is very, very surprised that you have a stadium of 10,000 people, and then you're expecting 21,000 people.
60,000.
60,000? No, you're expecting
21,000.
and then you got 60,000 people show up. So planning right from the get-go was off.
Yeah.
There's no indication of how many spaces were even available for these jobs is another thing. And I'm wondering whether this is just a problem that is that's a military problem alone, or whether other sectors actually see this happen. Judging or going by the unemployment rate in Ghana, would you say that this is something that every sector experiences when there are calls for opportunities or jobs out there? Is there such a big flux of people to these vicinities or these opportunities? Let's put it so.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, it's always the same.
Always the same.
This is a conversation because of the unfortunate incident that happened. Otherwise, that's what they do all the time.
Okay. So it's a symptom then. It's not the problem.
Yes.
And the symptom is unemployment. So what's the Ghanaian government doing about unemployment currently, using this as a billboard for what might be when you have such a situation in your economy?
Unfortunately, I am unable to speak to government plans. Politics in Ghana is still very divisive and
you had an advice.
quite unrewarding.
If you had an advice for the stakeholders, what would this be to create jobs for Ghanaian youth?
Well, it's one thing to create jobs, but it's also one thing to pay them. So it's everything about job creation has to do with the availability of funds. We do have the money. I should think that there is money, but the problem is the management. So I don't know. Every government says, "Oh, I'm doing this for the youth. I am creating jobs." Yes, there are so many jobs when you check online, but where are the jobs? The massive numbers that we saw is a testament to the fact that the jobs are not there. But every single government, with no exception, claims to be creating jobs for the people. There are also other avenues for them to go into private sector, but I'm not too sure how much help is available to such initiatives.
Well, Prince Dua, we want to say thank you very much for joining us to have this conversation on the situation in Ghana with regards to the military recruitment that saw 6 people meet their untimely end. Thank you very much for taking out time to be with us today on Breakfast Extra.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
To our viewers, we apologize for the initial problems we had with the audio and then eventually the missing video. We had to do that because we needed clear audio from Prince Dua, who is connecting from outside of Nigeria in Finland. Thank you very much. Do stay tuned. We've got one more conversation here, and we'll be taking that when we get back from this break.
Welcome back. And now we're talking extra special. We focus on how Nigeria's fintech world was rocked. Paystack has suspended its co-founder Ezra Olubi following serious allegations of sexual misconduct. The accusations were first made public in a detailed legal letter, and lawyers are now urging the police to open a formal investigation. As one of Nigeria's most influential tech platforms, this story raises critical questions about corporate accountability, personal power, and how to handle such allegations in high-profile workplaces.
So to help us unpack, we have a very big voice here. Kabir Akingbolu, he's a legal practitioner, is going to be giving us the legal implications of this. Mr. Kabir, you're welcome. Thank you very much for
joining
joining us.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Sir, it was a very interesting week. Oh boy. First of all, there was Wiki and the military, and then we had this. This kind of added that tabloid feel to every week that, you know, while something really big and substantial is happening on one side, then there's something very, you know, tabloid worthy on the other side. And it was Paystack in the news, and of course its co-founder. But then there were so many questions. These were statements that were ripped out of the internet from, well, a couple of years ago. These were statements where we have no complainant who has, you know, put any petition in court. So him being suspended on account of sexual misconduct, I understand the implications of that from an institutional point of view. However, there's no complainant, there's no report that has been made, and these were just simply expression. So where does that leave freedom of expression?
Yeah, which, you see, the problem is this: freedom of expression is a fundamental right, and all these rights, your right ends where the other people's right starts. So you cannot just say, in the exercise of your right to freedom of expression, you know, affect the right of others or encroach on the right of others. In your freedom of movement, your freedom of expression, your freedom of association, you shouldn't use it to affect others negatively. However, in this kind of situation, before this kind of thing can be taken, there are supposed to be a complainant, there are supposed to be victims.
Exactly.
Before, if you are charging somebody for financial impropriety, for instance, somebody must own that money. When the deal, how much is the money? Now, if it's sexual misconduct or harassment, there must be a victim complaining. So if somebody has not complained, do you have any cause of action? But in this kind of situation, it's a kind of a peculiar problem. You know why? An institution is involved. The man is more or less, you can really distinguish or separate Olubi from it's a face of Paystack. You can really distinguish. So there is no how you will mention him that Paystack will not come into the picture. And Paystack owes it a duty to itself to save its corporate image, to do what they have done. However, whether they are going to go beyond that is another question. But as a matter of topmost priority now, or immediate urgent attention or action, that's why they have suspended him. But I can tell you, those things, if they are really true, it shows workplace ethics, you know, breakdown of ethics in workplaces and some other things, you know, that are coming to play. The public outcry is there. What is the social concern around the Paystack image itself? And again, some people are raising the issue of power tussle. Like, could it be a kind of power play?
Because these messages came out of nowhere. They have been there for over 10 years.
Do you understand? So there are tweets of about 2010 and thereabouts. So what do they really mean to achieve by this? Who was the person who posted it? How did it come about? And again, things are not what they are to us. What things are to us as laymen is not what it is in court of law. You know why? Those evidence we have to pass through we have to pass a litmus test of admissibility. Who made the tweet? At what time of the day? What kind of gadget used? You have to prove it.
What state of mind?
Yeah, well, state of mind does not matter in law. Motive does not matter. No. You can't say, oh, because he loves his mother, he cannot kill him. It cannot be a defense in court of law. Oh, because he loves his girlfriend, he cannot post his new picture. No, it cannot be a defense. The fact remains, you have done it. The reason does not matter, except where you can prove that there is insanity. That is where motive can really, occur. But without insanity or coercion, you cannot. Even necessity does not give you a defense. There is a case of somebody under necessity. They are traveling on ship, and there was famine. There was no water. There was no food. So the sailors now, it's an English case. They combined together. They conspired. Let's kill this small boy. After all, he will still die before us. They killed the boy and they ate him. And the English court said no. They were now saying after all, he will have died eventually. The court said you cannot say that. It's not a defense. That is necessity, because you are hungry and you know he was going to die. You cannot give it then. So the father, after all, it cannot be a defense to you, except you can prove I didn't do it. And don't forget, there is alibi. He can say, oh, my phone was hacked. It's garbage in, garbage out. It's not my phone, and so on and so forth. So the space of social media space is a very technical area.
Yeah.
This topic is so sensitive. I already told Masina that I'm going to let him have this conversation.
No, it's not possible. We want to hear the women.
So, before we continue, if our director could please, can you share some of the tweets for our viewers, and please, viewer discretion is advised, please. So let's have a look at some of those tweets.
Mm-hmm. Now this, I'm straining hard here, but I'm going to try.
Let's see if we could zoom in.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't even want to read these, because some of them bother.
Oh, here goes. What a wonderful world it would be if Muslim women took on the same position as the men do during prayers.
Now, let's take a look at this, for instance. Let's look at the
Monday will be more fun with an A in it. Touch a...
Okay. No, that's enough. Like we said from before, viewer discretion, please. Now, these are some of the tweets that actually were, pulled out from the internet. We also, like we said from before, viewer discretion was advised there. However, if you were to take a look at this in a court of law,
yes,
these are not tweets that...
It's very interesting. That's where I'm going. Let me tell you. In all the things you have shown now, there's only one that can... It's just like playing upon words.
Exactly, and that's
it's just like playing upon words. He did not say Mr. A or Mrs. A. I saw one that say, how will it be taking a bath with your neighbor's daughter? You understand that kind of thing? It's an assumption. He didn't say there that I took a bath with my neighbor's daughter. All these things, how will it be if a woman is to be this? How will it be if somebody has this?
But where he begins to cross the line into
they are hypothetical questions.
Thoughts, however.
Yeah, pedophilic thought, that is bizarre. You understand? In itself, that one, that's what we call strict liability offense. Do you understand? It has, to corrupt the morals of the people. But again, if you go to law, strictly speaking, is there a relationship between morality and law? The law says no. The fact that, I will cite an example of a case also to drive home my point. There was a man in the case of State, and I remember the name of this case. The man was a very influential and rich man. It's even in Nigeria, but he doesn't talk to people on the streets, very arrogant. So one day he went to work and his house caught fire, and his old mother was there about to die, and he was crying for help. And 5 men stayed there and said, maybe your children, your son is like this. They were laughing. The woman was burnt to death. The man is a very rich man. He sued them and took I think that's the case. He took them to court. The court said the law cannot enforce the performance of a morality. That it is shameful and disgraceful for 5 men to watch an old woman burnt to death, but does the law command them to save somebody who is drowning or somebody who is burning? So this man is not making a point, assuming. He's asking a hypothetical question. He did not say, I did this. He did not say, I do that. However, there is the case of DPP versus Shaw, where somebody gets the directory and painted it and say, okay, if you want to call girls, you can call this number. He has the number of the girl, you can just... So he was sued. And they said, no, his action can corrupt public morale. In this kind of situation, the action of the man, in respect of the minors, can corrupt public morale, and I think he can ask a question to answer. But the 1 million questions, sir, is who are the victims?
Exactly.
Without a victim, it becomes baseless.
So, Kabir, it's not criminal then, is it?
It is not criminal if there is no victim.
So where does it fall under? Mr.
Even
Mena?
if you sue him now, that who is the complainant? Because if you say somebody has stolen my phone, who has stolen a phone, allegedly, if you say, oh, he stole a phone, he's not the owner. And he could say, oh, I'm not the owner. But if you don't bring somebody who owns that phone, before something could be stolen, it must be owned. So who owns it? So who are those people this man have been mentioning? If anybody can come out now and say, and again, there's another problem. Under our law, defilement of idiots or minors, if you don't sue within 6 months, it's started bad.
So if these texts
So
are
10 years ago, there's nothing,
there's nothing
that can happen.
So thanks for clearing that up. So I understand this from an, I'm sorry, Queen.
No,
I'm
no, no,
firing
no, no,
up too many
no.
questions.
I know she's...
You know, I told you that this topic
It's very
is
sensitive for you, so-
yes.
All right.
Go
Remove
ahead.
emotions,
I'm
let us
just-
be free.
So I lost my train of thought there, but I will regain it. I'll jump back on that train. Now, so we're saying that there is no victim here. So, but now, good. I understand it from an institutional point of view when it comes to Paystack suspending its co-founder. Then let's talk about the laws of the land, where bestiality is
an offense.
Is an offense.
Under our law.
There would not be an animal that will come and say.
Exactly. And there will not be evidence of the picture where he
there's
did
no
it.
evidence of picture.
Even if there is picture, do you know you can argue that, oh, there is cropping of his head on those things. So these are the technical areas. It's going to be very complex.
But you did speak of corruption of minors.
Yeah.
The law of the
Yes,
land. So
that is
in
the
that
area.
case-
That's the area I am concerned with.
So that's the most significant.
Yeah, however, when was that? But again, it's arguable again that, okay, those posts remain. Did it last year? Anybody reading it today is becoming aware today. So it's also an argument.
And
that,
you also
oh,
mentioned...
I'm just seeing it today.
Yeah.
Are you with me, sir? It's a situation, oh, he raped or harassed the girl 10 years ago, but a post that was is still online. We're talking about the post now, not the real act. That will constitute that offense of corruption of public morale.
So admittance would mean definitely you are corrupt, you need to be punished. However, what if he recants?
That's what exactly what we're saying, that if he denies all these things, that's the end of it. It ends there because, except and of course, when somebody now comes, I am a victim, you did this to me, that will dispel his denial. But when nobody is coming, it's your word against his, it's our word against his, it's the word of Paystack against his. And again, sir, Paystack, do they even have if you want to talk about it legally, does that amount to him being removed from the management of the company? Do you understand? Under the law, he is a owner. The fact that somebody is a criminal does not say, oh, you may not make him if the court has convicted him, he may not be a director again. Do you understand? But he can be a shareholder. Do you get? So the fact that he has done all those things, does it mean you remove him from the company? Don't forget, under our law, the first one I think is in 1900 or 18 something, Solomon versus Solomon, where a man in Britain, he was a cobbler. Later, the business was booming, and he decided to register the company, Solomon Company. You understand? And was making shoes. He gave shares to his wife, gave to his children, and all that. At a point, issues came, and he said, okay, I want to be paid. They said, no, you are Solomon now. You are the owner of the company. The English court said, no, he is different from his company. So he found it. Do you get it? So now, if he co-founded that agency, can you just send him away? There are protocols before you can say somebody is no longer competent to be a shareholder or a director in that company. You can punish him for what he has done, but that will not strip him of his right to be a co-founder in that organization. You can only talk of morality. That is the only thing. But legally, you cannot remove him.
Interesting, Queen.
You understand? Because he's not an employee. If he's an employee, the employers, he can hire and fire anytime, go away because of your conduct. But now he's the owner. He's one of the owner, and he has shares here. The company has come to stay. What are you going to do? He has not embezzled the company's money. He has not treated the company in a kind of way or run the company in a
So you're saying Paystack didn't respond positively? Is that what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying is that what Paystack has done to do this is to save its image.
Save its image.
But can they sustain it? How long can they sustain it? Or what effect can it have? Can it have on the eventual, result? So
what would be a better line of action for such institutions?
No, the best line of action is what they have done.
Okay.
They can keep him away they can keep him at bay for a very long time. Do you understand? They can even make, you know, being what Nigeria is, they can make us a make-up story that, oh, it's no longer in the management and all that, and he will still be managing behind the scene. This is the thing. But they cannot just say, because you have done this, you are no more a co-founder, or we are not going to give you your share. His profit comes every day, it will still continue to come. These are the questions.
Queen, you had a question.
Queen is not feeling comfortable. So this man is going to escape. It will be difficult. Yeah, it will be difficult to get him liable.
You talked about, literally, I think you've just talked about every corner of this situation.
Every question you had in your head.
Every question I had in my head, all the curiosity as to why is that tweet coming out now?
Yeah.
This is 2025, let's be honest. So the
Very
thing
woke
is,
2025.
if we scroll down on his Twitter page or X page or whatever, are we still going to see those tweets there? How did they bring it out?
Pull
Who
it
was
down.
the person who brought
I have read it and they have been pulled down.
It's been pulled
Do you
down.
understand?
When was it pulled down? How did they find it? Was his phone hacked? I know that there's a law where if we're having conversations, I cannot record it.
Yeah.
So is there a law where I cannot just come and find what you've done how many years ago and bring it, because then you cannot persecute someone after 6 months, and this has happened how many years ago? So all these things are just coming through my mind, and again, nobody has come out to say I was the one that this happened to.
Exactly.
So
And
It changes everything now,
and let me
doesn't it?
tell you,
does.
and let me tell you, these are just write-ups. There is no obscene pictures. There is no names mentioned. They were what they call inferences. You understand? Inferential conclusions can be drawn.
Because
That, maybe
at the end of the day, if we go by that he must be punished, then that means for everything we think,
there will be issues.
should be
That is
punished.
the
We should be
problem.
punished.
So law
You
is
just
very
get fat by
empirical,
taking that risky
because
measure.
law will not do something that will create problem for the society. That is why the law court will not allow juju. The judge is a Yoruba man. He's an African. He's an Hausa. He knows what it is. That, oh, there is juju, there is magic, there is this, there is that. But he will not believe, because if that is believed, the court will be flooded. Somebody can just say, I dreamt overnight and I saw so person did this, bewitched me. So even in the money position of the law, a lot of people were prosecuted and convicted and jailed and sentenced to death for killing people. Say, oh, this person is a witch, they stoned them to death. I knew one that happened in Ilorin sometime in around 1994. I know one that happened in Ekiti sometime about 10, 15 years ago. That, oh, this man is a witch, they stoned her to death. At the end of the day, they will arrest all the people they can identify there, prosecute them, because it's not known to law. So if we are not talking about, and again, even in court of law, they say court does not deal with academic or hypothetical question. What of if, all he was saying, what of if somebody asked this? What if somebody did this? He did not say yesterday, I did this. He did not say yes. Even when we talk about the minor that we're talking about, he was asking questions. He is not going to say, oh, I am going to do this.
That's a very
It's a very
interesting
tricky
detail.
thing. But it's not tricky. And if you see again, those words are very well coded. It's very, very well coded. Because a judge or a good lawyer will be able to argue to say, oh, come, you can argue your own like this. I may argue my own like this. Do you understand? And some of the things that we call names, technical terms, they are not the English words. Do you understand? I knew I've done a case before where somebody pleaded. In his pleading, he said the boy has SS. That is why they gave my client, they say 5-year-old boy, I wasn't my degree then, gave him injection, immediately the leg became paralyzed. And at the end of the day, when we sued the hospital, in their defense, they said the boy is SS. That's why the injection reacted on his body. Unfortunately, under medicine, there's nothing like SS. It's sickle cell anemia. So my argument was that, well, what they are pleading does not exist as a disease. So nobody, what is SS? Nothing. So those are the areas when something that is coded, you interpret, it's subject to interpretation, and the law is this, a court of law. We allow 10, they say it is better. In the administration of justice, it is better for 10 accused persons to escape justice than for one innocent person to be suffered unjustly. Now, as a judge, all you need to do as a lawyer, while we win cases at times, just create a doubt in the mind of the judge. Like in a rape case, somebody left your house, and until 3 days, they didn't come and arrest you that you raped her. The possibility of a lawyer arguing that, oh, within that time, it's also possible that you could sleep with another man. You understand? He says yes. You have already doubt. Who knows? Did you do it within those 3 days? So these are just create a doubt in the mind of the court. Once the court cannot resolve that doubt, the accused person is going to be free.
Mr. Kabir,
freed.
It's unfortunate that we're having you at the end of the show, because I think this conversation is very broad and deep, and it opens new doors to the perspectives that we could actually view the instance that has just happened between Mr. Ezra Olubi and Paystack, and all of Twitterdom, you know, in social media jury. But thank you very much for shedding another light.
And come to think of it, just like somebody who hold a magic and say, I command you to fall down, and the person falls down and die. We know that in Yoruba land there is, but there's no causation. He didn't touch you. So those are the things. It will be difficult to hold him responsible.
Mr. Kabir, thank you very much for coming on Breakfast Extra once again. It's always a pleasure to have you, especially when you agree to our invitations. We're always excited. Just before the interview and even after.
Thank you.
Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Queen, this is where we say our goodbyes. I think you should do the goodbyes, because
Queen is not feeling too.
I wanted a bit.
Wow,
it is what it is.
It's been a morning. You know, different conversations, and you know, Nigeria as a whole, we're special. And you know, as we brace ourselves for December, and as we see different situations unfold from Abuja to Lagos to finance to food, of course, we're saying our goodbyes, but don't forget to tune in tomorrow through Friday to watch Breakfast Central with Joe, Benga, and Olin. And it's a goodbye for us.
Bye-bye.
You know.
Thank you very much for joining us. See you guys next week. Thank you very much, sir.